Hi, I'm Jeff Gerhardt, and I've got a question for you. Do you know how to get and keep power? I'm not talking about a power that would be one of authority or position in this world, but rather an unseen power, a power that's going to help you to sustain on the mission that God's called you into. You see, in the master's program, we've found people like you who have had success in your life, and now you're moving it into a significance that it would have an eternal impact. And what you know is what Paul wrote to Timothy when he said to him in 1 Timothy 3, he said, hey, take this to the bank. Anyone who seeks leadership desires to do a good thing. Well, for you and for me, seeking after leadership is what we're working towards now. I'm going to give you the 5 key areas that I think you need to go after if you're going to tap into that unseen power. One is to serve. And to serve is to understand that it's about those that are around me and how can I give them more and serve them while on the mission that God gave me. Service is key. Number 2, it's about prayer. And prayer is conforming my soul and my spirit to Him. What I'm doing right now, I'll tell you, I've gone back to this and I really think it's important, and that's to be on my knees, to actually pray on my knees, not because I'm being religious, but rather as I conform my physical body to my mentality that not my will, but your will, God, then I'm moving myself into a place with which I'm allowing my soul and my spirit to conform while I am praying alone and getting on my knees. Hey, number 3 is to recognize His power and authority. What I found interesting in Acts 5 is that the Pharisee, Gamaliel, when he was talking about the apostles, he said, hey, if you try to resist these guys and they're doing what God told them to do, you may be pushing back against God. You see, the Pharisee, Gamaliel, understood that the power of God goes beyond the work of man. So when we're recognizing His work, we're doing something that's beyond us for Him. I've talked about this before here in Insider's Journal, where I've said, your calling needs to terrify you, but to move past a terrifying calling and tap into that unseen power is to understand these 5 things I've said: to serve, to pray, to recognize His power and authority, and number 4, it's to know your mission. Do you know what you're called into? Do you know what God has invited you into that you're executing to now? Knowing that is so key because it helps you to focus while allowing the things that would distract you to avoid them, to you to move away from them. And then number 5, and this is also so important, and it taps into the leadership that you've got, and that's to replicate yourself. Hey, if you look into the story of Moses in Exodus 18 and realize that his leadership was totally bottlenecked, you understand that you need to delegate and release authority and have other people come along with you on this mission that God's called you to. So having all 5 of these things in gear is so key to the person that God's called you to be, to actually tap into His unseen power. You see, when that unseen power is radiating beyond you, everyone around you is going to know that it wasn't you, it was God. I can't tell you how many times people around me have said things like, how are you going to fill the shoes of a great man like Bob Schenck? That's a good question, but frankly, I don't think about it. And you know why? It's because I really believe in this unseen power, that if God's doing it, it's beyond me. In fact, that's what my calling is to do, to pursue something that's beyond me, trusting in Him to do things that He can only do. And while I will give my best, I'm totally trusting in Him who's able to do beyond what I can. So today, as you're pursuing your calling and continuing and perhaps preparing for the next season of your calling, look at these 5 things: serve, pray, recognize His authority, know your mission, and then finally, replicate yourself. In the master's program, we work with marketplace leaders and people who would say to themselves, I believe God's got more for me. Continue on this journey with us here as you continue to focus your life not only on these areas, but on His unseen power. All right, we'll see you next time. God bless.